We are live. We are live from Broome, West Australia. Here we are up here. I just finished my keynote presentation at the Kimberley Economic Forum. Was an amazing start to a great conference that's going to be on for 2 days. We were talking about disruption, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and setting the tone for all the amazing speakers who are going on right now. Then I need to jump out here, obviously, to do this live stream. Now, unfortunately, due to technical problems, I'm not going to bring the whiteboard up, but we're going to talk today about, so I'm just trying to see if I can get this to work for us, but I had to go find a quiet space out here, and we're actually just, I can show you now because where we are, just outside here at the Civic Center here in Broome, and snuck outside the conference, which is going on inside right now. But we're going to talk about the 4 frameworks every business must have, and the importance of that, and what why you should have them, how you can use them, and what really for organizations, why they all matter, and in terms of sequence. Okay, so let's just get into it. We're going to freestyle a little bit through with this because we're here to freestyle within the frameworks. So, first thing, what are the 4 frameworks that every business must have? If you've gone through any of our content this week through LinkedIn or Facebook or any of our social media platforms, we've been talking a lot about the need to have these 4 frameworks in your business. Now, the 4 frameworks that you must have in your organization are simply, number 1, your cultural framework. You know the old adage that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. Well, we've got to make sure we get the cultural framework right. And that cultural framework incorporates 3 key things. So firstly, it's your purpose. So why does our business exist? The unique problem we're here to passionately solve in the world. Number 2 is our values in terms of how do we uniquely think about that problem we're passionate about solving. And number 3 is what is the impact we want to have on our world. So it's your vision. So it's our purpose, values, and vision. Those 3 things. So we have our purpose, our vision, and our values that create the framework that actually our next framework is strategy. Love a bit of freestyling. Thanks, Mikey. Yeah. It's been a morning of technological challenges right in the middle of a keynote with no clicker working. Here I am. I can't get my whiteboard to come up on screen, but we're still going live and we're still freestyling. Right. So your first framework is the cultural framework with those 3 things. Now, those things are critical because you can ask yourself this as a human being. I firmly believe that when people are looking to work somewhere or, obviously where they choose to be employed, they're looking for 3 things. Number 1 is something to believe in. They want a sense of meaning to the work that they're doing. That's purpose. Number 2, they want somebody who believes in them, somebody who will empower them to make smarter decisions. And that's a leader who uses values to help empower the people to do so. So that's your values. And then the third thing that people want is someone to believe in. And that's a leader or business owner or leader who has a vision of the world that's far greater than all of us combined. So that's your vision. So you have purpose, something to believe in, values that you can use to empower your team so they know that you believe in them and can trust them to take more responsibility, and vision that they can believe in you because you have a picture of the world that's greater than all of us combined. So those are the 3 key elements to your cultural framework. Now, following on from the cultural framework, the next thing there after that then is your strategic framework, because it's the old adage that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. Well, let me assure you that when you create a culture and strategy alignment and you understand how to do that, you'll never have to worry about culture eating strategy for breakfast ever again. So you have your cultural framework, and at the end of that cultural framework is the vision. So we've got purpose, values, vision. Now, if that's the world that we want to see, so vision is picture of the world 10, 20 years from now, where you create the link between culture and strategy, so the cultural framework, the strategic framework is quite simple. Is you go, well, who would we need to become in the next 3 years to start creating that world that we see? So mission then is who do we need to become to start creating the world that we see? And once you got your vision very clear, you can go work your way back, say, what's the next evolution of our business? Because business is a series of evolutions, and mission is just the next evolution of your business. So mission then is key element to the strategic framework. So it's getting your mission right. And then the other part of your strategic framework then is the objectives. How would we know what must be accomplished to show that we have become that organization that we need to become to start creating that world that we see? So culture, purpose, values, vision, strategy framework, mission, and objectives. And usually it's the top 6 things that must be accomplished to show that we become that organization. What's the team that we must have? What's the brand that we must have? What clients must we have? What's the financial performance we must have? It could be systems and operations. It could be industry relationships. It could be your network. Whatever it is, what are those 6 things that must be accomplished, the core objectives? Now you have your strategic framework done. So once you've gone from cultural framework to strategic framework, then what you need to do is move into your performance framework. So how are we going to measure it? Because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So out of those objectives, you go, what would be the 3 key results for each of those objectives? And you look at that and go, what are the percentages, numbers, or dollar signs that you would need to show in terms of the metrics of how you're going to measure each of those objectives' success? So we've gone success is the objective to fulfill the mission. Results, then what are the 3 key results, a percentage, number, or dollars, whatever it is in each of those objectives. And you map that out for the 3 years and for the 1 years, and then you'll have your performance framework in place. The last framework that you need to have in place is your tactical framework. And that is when we're going to get into how to do this. So if you've got your strategic framework in place of your objectives for 3 years and 1 year, you've got your performance framework, you've got the metrics in place for 3 and 1. You do the same process for 90 days. So in the next 90 days, what are the 3 things that matter most? What are the 3 objectives for the next 90 days that we need to start moving towards? What are the performance frameworks for those things? And then your tactical framework then is how are we going to achieve those things every 90 days? So a tactical framework talks about your 90-day action plans and the things that we need to do to move the organization forward. Because the 3 objectives that you're going to focus on that drop out of your strategic and performance frameworks into tactical are the 3 things that matter most that are going to move our organization forward. Those are the things that will give us traction. Everything else is a distraction. And then you build your tactical plan to do that. And in order to do that, you can use a simple philosophy, which is our fast execution methodology, where you look at focus, the 3 things that matter most, system of accountability, who's responsible for what, where, when, and why. Then simple tactical plan, what are the simple step-by-steps to achieve those key results in each of those areas. And then the last part of that is transparency, is making it so that everybody can see, that nobody has a need to hide. And it's not the fact that people need to actually want to hide or need to hide. We're going to create a culture where everyone's lifting each other up. So if we're falling or lagging behind on one of our objectives for the key results, we can go and put our hand up, go, I need help. Or we can reach our hand out and go, hey, can I help you? We don't need anyone to feel the need to hide. So when you have focus, accountability, simplicity, and transparency, you can execute at a far greater rate than you ever have before. Mike, thank you. The tactical framework. So that's our business evolution roadmap that Mike's talking about. That's available to anybody if they like. We'll probably be doing a session on that in the coming weeks. So it maps everything out, and then there's a simple tactical plan template that follows at the bottom of that on how to take each of those key results and build your tactical plan for that to execute on those things. So when you think about the 4 frameworks, the cultural framework, the strategic framework, the performance framework, and the tactical framework, when you have those things in place, here's the really exciting part. When you're a business owner or a leader, we find a lot of business owners, leaders, especially in this time, but it has happened in the past, is that when the pressure's on, we tend to give it more controlling and we tend to micromanage a little bit more because we're concerned that things will get loose or mistakes will happen and things like that. So we end up actually getting more hands-on in the work. Please remember this as a business owner and leader. When you learn especially if you have the frameworks, when you have frameworks in place, when you learn how to control the frameworks, you don't have to control the work within the frame. Right? This allows your people to freestyle within the frameworks because your role is actually to control the frameworks. So everybody knows why we do what we do, how we uniquely think about the world we want to create, the business we need to become, what that looks like 3 years, what that looks like at 12 months, what that looks like in 90 days, how we'd measure each of those things, and then get people involved in the work, involved in decisions about the work to help map out the tactical framework then in terms of accomplishing those key results. And then your job is to control the framework, not the work within the frame. So you don't have to lose a sense of control in your organization. It's actually you get a greater sense of control because you're controlling the things that matter most, right? You cannot scale micromanagement. Let me repeat that. You cannot scale micromanagement. And when you're a control freak, when you have to do everything, when you have to answer everything, you have to make all the decisions or get involved in all the decisions, it's exhausting. You end up working longer and harder than you need to. You take on more than you're supposed to. And please understand this, and this is something we work with all our clients and sharing this as a philosophy for them. If you have to do the thinking for both of you and the other person, one of you is redundant. Okay? If you have to do the thinking for both of you, one of you is redundant. So if we actually learn to ask better questions of our people to get them to be able to think for themselves and do so within the framework, this is how you won't have to make all the decisions. You're going to empower them to make those smarter decisions. They're going to understand where the organization's going, how we're getting there, because I'm participating in it. When people can see the future of the organization, they can see themselves having a future in the organization. These are all the critical components, having those 4 frameworks in place for your organization. You don't have to be controlling, you don't have to be micromanaging. You can control the framework, not the work within the frame. It helps your people see the future of the organization so they can see how they can participate in that, and they can be more involved in the building of that organization as it goes forward. So, have you got your 4 frameworks established for your organization? Do you know your culture framework, your purpose, your values, your vision? Do you have your strategic framework, your mission and your objectives? Do you have the performance framework in place, the percentages, the numbers, the dollars? And do you have your tactical framework in place in terms of how you're going to execute on this at a far greater rate than you ever have, and getting people involved in how we're going to do this? Sometimes we may not have a chance to decide or be involved in what we're going to do, but darn it, we can get people involved in how we're going to do it. So I encourage you to go out, establish the 4 frameworks for your business. Anyone has any questions, if you'd like a copy of the 4 frameworks workbook and document, just put hashtag 4 frameworks in the bottom, number 4 frameworks, and make sure that we get you a copy of those 4 frameworks sent through to you. And as always, thank you so much for your time and attention. Really appreciate you guys tuning in for this and watching this either during or after the fact, and the comments that we receive. But get onto those 4 frameworks for your business, okay? Thanks very much, everyone. And from Broome, cheerio. It's a nice, stunning 30-degree day here. One last look around. We've got stuff happening here. There's stuff going on inside the doors there. That's where the conference is behind me there. Just got off the stage speaking with everybody there. Fantastic venue here. If you haven't been to Broome, West Australia, put it on your list. Lots of great places to stay here. Enjoy. Take care, everyone.